Hey guys, so I'm back and today we're talking about creating space in our lives for self-care. You guys know that the last few weeks I've done quite a few videos on feminine energy and being in our feminine, being high vibration, and just loving ourselves for who we are, for being authentic, and a lot of other fun topics. Well, the number one sort of resistance I get from women anytime I've ever talked about self-care, taking care of ourselves, the number one thing I get is, well, how do I do this if I'm working full time? How do I do this if I have, ill parents that I'm taking care of, young children? And I know that as women, we wear a lot of different hats, right? That's just kind of the fact of being a woman. So how do we do this? And the only thing that I have been in my own life been able to think of is that you have to make it a priority to create space in your life for self-care and self-love. And it's not going to ever happen. There's never going to be the perfect time. There will always be excuses not to do it. There will always be excuses to do it later. There will always be other people's needs that need to be met before ours. But I've also come to the conclusion that we can't meet other people's needs fully, authentically, and from a good place if our basic needs of self-care and self-love are not met. Because then oftentimes what happens is many things happen. One, if you guys know my mom's story, you just keep giving to everybody, and then it creeps up on you. And she was unhealthy and overweight, and she had cancer and just didn't even know it for 10 years of her life because she was so busy just helping everybody else. And then all of a sudden, in a flash, she was gone. And that's one extreme. But in other less extreme things, what I've seen is that you become resentful or your relationships suffer because you are not meeting your own human needs. And so you look and you keep doing for other people, but then you also look to them to fulfill those needs. And oftentimes people let us down, not because they're not good people, not because they have bad intentions, but because nobody else can meet our needs the way we can meet our own needs of self-acceptance, self-love, self-care. And so today's main message today is going to be that you make that your number one priority, and you do it from good intentions. You come from a place of that I'm not being selfish, I'm not taking care of myself or loving myself because I'm a selfish person, or I'm going to give to myself first for selfish reasons. But you do it because I've talked about this before, that you cannot pour anything out from an empty cup. You simply can't. It's false energy, it's false love at that point, because if you can't love yourself enough, then you can't really give anybody anything. I'm at that point now where my children are getting older and they point these things out to me when I'm being inconsistent with what I'm saying and what I'm doing. I had an incident a few months ago where I was in a situation, it's been an ongoing thing, but there was this one situation where somebody that I know disrespected me, kind of insulted me in public, and I chose to, like I always do, kind of brush it off, let it go, kind of be like, this is this person's problem. What they feel about me or how they treat me it's on them, not on me. And I thought I was doing the right thing, right? Because I'm like avoiding conflict, avoiding drama, not getting it let be sucked in. But my son pointed out to me that he's like, you always tell us to stand up for what we believe, and you tell us to stand up for ourselves, and that's part of self-care and self-love. And he's like, well, you haven't really been doing that. I'm like, I haven't. I feel like I always stand up for myself. He's like, well, no, because of that. He pointed out that one incident. He's like, this has been an ongoing thing, and I know that you're trying to not get sucked into drama, and you're letting other people's insecurities not get the best of you. But he's like, from my point of view, I see myself as helpless because I see my mom being disrespected, and I can't do anything about it, and you're not doing anything about it. So it's like you're saying one thing and doing something else. And I have sat with that so heavily on my chest. Like, I'm like, wow, like it's like being like shown the mirror that sometimes even with good intentions, what we say, it's very different. What we're trying to teach our children, that doesn't mean much if we are not consistently living up to that by our actions. And it's, you know, it's not that I'm not going to make mistakes. The reason that my son was able to come up to me and point this out is that I've shown him that I'm very human, that I am just learning and growing and going along through life just like he is. I'm having the same human experience that he's having. The only sort of advantage I have is that I have some years of experience over him. Other than that, I'm just the same as he is. And so I have that comfort level where he was able to come to me. But it was a wake-up call that, you know what, it doesn't matter what you tell your children, it doesn't matter how much you love your children, if you are not loving yourself, they are watching. They're learning more from that than anything you can possibly say to them. And that was really an interesting experience for me, and I'm still kind of processing that, in that I need to learn to walk the walk, right? I mean, you know, I need to, whatever I'm teaching my children, they need to see me living up to that. And let me take some of your let's see. Abisha said, thank you for explaining self-care, self-love. Definitely we need to make it our #1 priority. A powerful, I am live. Yeah, I'm not sure why you can't tell, but yes, I'm live. So if you, I don't know what device you're on, you should be able to comment. And yeah, so okay, good. Powerful, this is going to be put on later. So once I'm done being live, it uploads. Ipsy said, hi girl, Mina, joining after a long time. So good to see you. This is the area I have been struggling for ages. So bring on the questions. I'm here to answer questions. So you guys know that the life that I have now hasn't always been my life. You know, I was 16 years old when I started, 16 or 17 years old when I started my first job. And before that, since I was 7 years old, I've always been babysitting and been responsible for my younger siblings. So I feel like I've had my challenges and I've had my struggles with making self-care my priority. I went through a stage in my life where for 4 years I was a single mother working full-time. Part of that I was in school at Northwestern University full-time. All of that was happening all at the same time. And I can't say that my self-care was up to par as it is now, but at the same time, there were still some non-negotiables in my life that I always made priority. It wasn't, again, as you know, as it is now, but with the tools that I was given, with the time available at the time, I created that space. So what do I mean when I say that you need to create space? Well, part of being in your feminine energy is having space in your life, and not just space as in I have all the space to put my stuff, but it's the space between tasks to process our thoughts. It's the space in our life for ourselves to make ourselves a priority. This means you know, looking at our nutrition and having time for that. This means maybe having some sort of a meditation or spiritual practice. This means having time to do nothing, having time for pleasure, saying, what do I feel like doing right now at some unscheduled time, and saying, you know what, I feel like I haven't painted in a while, or I haven't, you know, whatever your hobbies are. What gives you pleasure will be very different than what may give me pleasure. But having the space in our lives to figure that out. Sometimes I hear from women saying, well, I don't know what my passions are, or I don't know what gives me pleasure. And I think that your #1 priority at that point needs to be to get better in tune with your heart and to know, who am I? Like, what if you don't know? So if I met you and I said, hey babe, what are your hobbies? Like, what do you like to do? What's your passion? And your answer was, I don't know. Wow, that in itself says a lot about how much attention and love and self-care you've been giving yourself. If you don't know yourself well enough to know what brings you passion, what makes you feel at peace, what makes you feel like a woman, then that's something that you need to cultivate and work at, because that means that you haven't spent enough time with yourself, alone time. You could be 55 years old and you may not know your passions, and that means that you have been living your life for other people, for doing things for other people, and you haven't had the chance in your life yet. You haven't made the space to sit down. And I apologize for using the word chance, because this is not something you leave to chance. There will be no perfect timing. You make a decision, you make the intention, and then you make the space. Now, this may mean saying no to some things. This may mean saying no to some things that we feel really obligated to do for other people. But that's self-love. That's saying, you know what, I have these 5 people that I love in my life and that are my life and my world, but there's a 6th person in there. That's me. And I need to include that 6th person in that realm of importance and priority. And it can start with literally 10 minutes a day. It can start with maybe 10 minutes a week, if that's all you have. But I want to invite you to reevaluate that. When you say you don't have time, look at we all have the same number of hours in the day. We all have the same time, right? It's what we do with it. So look at those time zappers. I've taken a course in my life. Some of it was intentional, some of it was just completely, I fell into it. But I want to tell you guys some of those things that I feel like have really contributed to me having the space that I need in my life to let me see some of the things that you guys are saying first. Gia said, new to do, spend more time with myself. Yes. It's in those quiet moments and quiet times where I'm just kind of like laying saying, oh, okay, I finished everything I needed to do, or I didn't finish everything I needed to do. I don't feel like doing any of that stuff right now. What do I feel like doing? And one practice, Gia, you just reminded me of this. One really powerful practice that's new. This is completely new to me. I'm not going to claim to be an expert in this at all, but it's really been changing my mindset a lot. Is recently what I've been doing a lot is I've been just at different points in the day, I've been kind of just saying, how do I feel right now? And this has been a really powerful thing, because before my mindset was, it doesn't matter how I'm feeling, I'm going to make myself feel good by doing affirmations or being positive mindset states or changing your state, which I still believe in. I learned this from Tony Robbins, from the law of attraction. I still powerfully believe in that. It's been like the foundation of my success in my life. Having said that though, I'm now also learning that it's okay to sometimes reevaluate your state and say, you know what, I'm feeling kind of anxious right now. And I'm okay with it. Like, I'm not going to stay feeling anxious, but I'm also okay with the fact that feeling anxious is sometimes a human emotion. Or if I say, I'm feeling kind of angry right now, then I say, okay, well, why am I angry? And then I say, okay, I'm angry because XYZ happened. Okay, I sit with that, and I have this visual imagery. This is going to be so weird. Sometimes I share this with you guys, and then I'm like, you guys probably think I'm so weird. I have this visual imagery of a jug, and the jug says love on it, L-O-V-E, and the jug is full of love. And when I have these moments where I'm like, you know what, how am I feeling right now? I'm feeling kind of angry. Okay, am I angry at someone, or am I angry at myself? Okay, well, I'm angry at someone. Why am I angry at that person? Because they didn't fulfill this need. Why do I need them to fulfill this need? Is it because I'm not fulfilling my own need? Is it because I'm tired because I did a lot of things for other people but I didn't take any time out for myself? Was I not patient with myself today? Was I not loving with myself? So I have that moment, and then I literally take that visual jug and I pour it on that emotion. And that's it. I don't judge myself. I don't say, oh, I'm so stupid for, wanting this from that person, or why am I angry at this person, or I'm not going to judge that emotion. I just pour that imaginary jug of love that I have on it. And this has been really helpful for me in accepting that I am a person with the full range of emotions. I'm not perfect. I'm going to make mistakes on a daily basis. This is a constant effort, but at the same time, I'm not going to judge myself. I'm going to love myself, and I'm going to just pour love on that emotion. Even if that emotion is not ideal, even if that emotion is unworthy of me, it's not belonging to me, I'm just going to pour love on it. You know, something that my husband said to me the other day was such a eye-opening thing for me. I don't want to share the full conversation because it's a little private, but I had this moment, you know, there was something that I didn't say. There's certain vocabulary words that, you know, how you don't say because you just don't say them. And so there's some words that I just don't say. Like I don't, there's some curse words that I can say. There's other curse words that I don't say. I try generally not to curse. But you know how we all sort of have this kind of realm of our vocabulary that we're comfortable with, right? And so we were having this weird conversation. And I said, oh, I would never say that word, right? And then I paused for a second and I came back and I said to my husband, yes, baby? Okay. Mommy's, okay. Oh, okay. You can use nanos if you want to. So I said, do you see me as somebody that could say that? Because I don't know why it made me think of that. So I said, do you see me as somebody that can say that? And he's like, yeah, why not? Do you think it's not part of your personality? And I thought about it. It was a weird question. So I said, yeah, I think that I can't say that word because it's not a part of my personality. Do you think it's a part of my personality? And he said, the one thing that really attracts me to you and the one thing that I feel is it's like the definition of who you are is the fact that you have a wide range. So he's like, when I see you, it's so interesting. This is the reason I'm sharing this conversation, even though it's a private conversation, is because I think it's very interesting how we see ourselves and how other people see us. And I like learning about how other people see me because I think it's like a whole different dimension because I can't see myself the way other people can see me. And he said that the one thing like that's your defining factor and the one that attracts me to you is that I don't think that you have just this one clear personality. He's like, you have this range. And he's like, I'm attracted to that range. He's like, you can be on one end of the spectrum and then you can gracefully be in the middle and then you can flow to the other side. And I was like, wow, I never thought about that. And I've been kind of sitting with that and I'm like, I like that he doesn't see me as somebody that fits into one neat little box and that I have this range of I'm fluid, I'm flowy, and that's all about feminine energy. So I think that's where this exercise is coming handy for me because I'm saying, okay, I pride myself in being a positive person. I pride myself in that and I love that about myself. But at the same time, I am a human being with a full range of emotions. I will have moments where I'm angry, where I'm sad, where I'm disgusted, where I'm disappointed, all of those emotions. And I'm not going to judge myself for that. I'm just going to pour that jug of love on those emotions because those are also a part of me. And let me take some of your questions and comments. Stephanie said, did you like living in Chicago? I want to travel to Chicago. I think Chicago is a beautiful city. I did not like living there. I was born and raised in Chicago, but I never felt like Chicago was home to me. Yes. Okay, go. Go in my bathroom so it's closer. Okay? So I know my brother doesn't like it when I said that. He's made it, you know, he says that it makes him sad when I say that. So I try not to say that, but for some reason, I'll just be honest, Chicago never felt like home. I knew at some point in my life I would be moving away from there. Closer. Huh? Just go to mine. Or just go to anyone you want to. Powerful said, I struggle with self-care majorly. I most of the time don't have the energy. I'm trying to get my nutrition together now, and hopefully as I start to look better and feel better, I will get into the other. So Powerful, you actually kind of may have it backwards. So the interesting thing is the self-care, I don't want you to look at it as something that requires energy, because self-care is not it can be an active thing. Like, for example, I can say that today I'm doing self-care. I'm going to go take a bath, or I'm going to go put on makeup. But self-care can also be being patient with myself and loving myself and accepting myself. Loving myself not only for my positive attributes, but also loving myself for my negative attributes and for my weaknesses as well as my strengths. So self-care begins with acceptance. So in your case, exactly what you just said, that I'm going to love myself despite the fact that I don't have energy, despite this fact that I fail miserably most days on doing XYZ. I'm just going to pour love over it, because that's what I need right now. My self-care for today is my acceptance of myself, good and bad, good and ugly, and just sitting with that can be your self-care. And actually self-care is what, okay, do you need me? What did you do? Okay, guys, I sincerely apologize, but you guys know my situation. Mommy first. So I'm gonna be right back. Give me a break. If you guys can post that in the chat box and take the time to give this video a thumbs up, I will be right back. Mimi? Yeah, did you do pee-pee? Sorry about that, guys. Mommy first, mommy first. Okay, so I'm back. So let's see. Krupi said, hi Mina, it's been a while since I participated in your chats. How do you avoid or justify self-care without feeling guilty? I have the case of mommy guilt every single time. So I think what's happening here from the comments is that you guys are thinking that self-care is something that takes you away, right? So I don't feel guilt ever about self-care, because my self-care is actually what fuels my life with energy so that I can give more to my children and my husband and to my greater community and everybody. So feeling guilty to me may be not having time for self-care, because then I know that I'm pouring to my children from an empty cup. So imagine that your children and your family are sitting down for dinner, they have their plates out, and you have your pot, but when you look in the pot, there's nothing to serve. You didn't cook that day, you didn't prepare anything. That to me is the definition of self-care. So in your situation, if you're feeling guilty, take that imaginary jug of love and pour that over it and say, you know what, I'm going to accept my guilt because it's a part of me, and I'm not going to judge myself. I'm going to pour some love over it. That's your self-care for the day. Done. You didn't have to leave your house. You don't have to take time away from your children. Self-care is basically it's self-acceptance, it's self-love. So some people, self-care might be, I'm gonna go have a Friday night girls night for 3 hours. That's also self-care. That's fine, perfectly. If that's what fuels you and makes you gives you life so that you can give to your family and give to your community and give to wherever you give, then that's your self-care. But self-care is so much more than that. It's those daily small habits. Let me give you examples of it. It's those daily habits of saying, oh, I forgot to do this again. I'm such an idiot. No, I forgot to do this. I'm going to pour love into it. I'm going to not judge myself, and I'm going to move forward. That's self-care, because I'm taking care of my emotional needs. I'm accepting that I'm feeling overwhelmed right now because I forgot to do XYZ, but I'm just going to accept it and love myself anyways, because I am worthy, whether I do things for other people or not, whether I go to work or not, whether I have a job title or not. I am worthy because I am alive. I've been designed and been birthed and given this blessing of this life. That's what makes me worthy. Not anything that I do for my neighbor, for my children, nothing else from an outside factor. That's all just cherries on top of it, right? If that's where that drives you, doing things for other people, that's great. But if you are not getting your self-care and your self-love from within, and your worth from just simply being who you are in all of its authentic power, right? The good, the bad, the ugly, the fact that sometimes you forget to do things, that's okay. That's part of who you are. So I think a lot of us mistake that self-care has to be something that we have to like go away for, or something that requires time. Self-love, the basic number one definition of that to me is self-love, self-acceptance, being okay with my faults, being okay with my full range of emotions.
Love you, Mommy.
Love you too, baby. Tear and Paper said, this is so true. I ever feel bitter towards someone, it means I wasn't taking enough care of myself. Exactly. First of all, this is how I look at it. Why do I think that I'm entitled to somebody else's XYZ? So whatever I'm expecting from them. If I'm expecting somebody else to give me attention and love, the fact that I'm not getting that from myself first, that means I'm an entitled princess. Like, I'm expecting somebody else to do things for me that I should be doing for myself first. We teach other people how to love us, how to respect us by doing that for ourselves first. The funny thing with that is that the more you love yourself and you accept yourself and you're authentic and you show up fully loved from the inside, not only will more people love you and they'll be more vulnerable with you and more willing to give to you, but also if they're having a bad moment where they're not able to do that, you don't seek it out from them. You don't lash out at them, because you know that just like you need to recharge sometimes and you need to take care of yourselves and you have a full range of emotions, you accept that other people have that too. So one thing that I've noticed is the more that I accept myself for everything, for the good, the bad, the ugly, for my downfalls and from my strengths and all of that full range of emotions and who I am, the more other people are feeling comfortable in my presence, because they feel like, because I accept all those things about myself, I'm more willing to accept those things from them. And they no longer have to put up an act in front of me. They don't have to perform in front of me a certain way. They don't have to hide in front of me, because they know that I am an accepting person of not only of me, but of them as well. So this is what we're subconsciously telling people when we are self-loving, we're accepting ourselves. Thank you so much, Brianna. I appreciate the compliment. Self-love, self-acceptance. Wow, so good. I'm so glad that you guys are enjoying this topic. Hi, Ross. Let me see. I think I missed some. Okay. So Abisha said, I'm 25, married 4 years ago. Due to in-laws pressure, I gave up everything and look quite old. How do I bounce back? Abisha said, I always had positive thoughts and dreams about marriage, but I have a difficult mother-in-law. Okay. So the first thing I would do with that is that I would just recognize that I had positive thoughts about marriage, and it wasn't as I expected. There were some unexpected things. I let myself go, and I need to get myself back into shape or back into myself, and then you just pour love on it. So you accept that this happened, you accept it. And then when you're able to really do that, I find that as you bounce back slowly, taking 10 minutes a day, taking care of yourself, you will notice a shift in your mother-in-law. What you are saying to your mother-in-law through your subconscious is that I am not worthy of my own love and attention, and therefore she's being even more difficult. I'm not saying maybe she wouldn't be difficult before, maybe she would. But what you have trained her to believe for the last 4 years is that you are not even worthy of your own self-care. You are not worthy of your own attention. So why wouldn't she be difficult? People will treat you how you treat yourself, how you show them you are worthy of treating. And I'm not saying this is going to be overnight, but I have a strong feeling that if you slowly started shifting, not by being rude, not being, shaking or rocking the boat, but gracefully allowing yourself that love and acceptance, taking 10 minutes a day to just, if you're sitting down for dinner, just saying, the things that I have in my plate, is this going to enhance my beauty in any way? Are there plants and minerals and vitamins in this food? If your answer is yes, you say, okay, this is my self-love. I'm going to eat and enjoy this meal slowly and nourish my body, and this is how I'm going to love myself today. That's all it takes. It's not like you have to go outside and find some way to self-love yourself. It's just accepting that this is where I am right now, and I'm moving forward every single day and loving myself just a little bit more. And as you start loving yourself, you will notice that your attraction, you start magnetizing your husband towards you a little bit more, where he's more magnetized towards you, and you notice that that will radiate into other relationships around you, your children if you have any, your in-laws, your friends, your own family, because remember, they are mirroring how you're treating yourself. You haven't taught them that you are worthy of being treated well. And you're not going to say this by going up to your mother-in-law and saying, hey, treat me well. No, that's not going to work. In most cases, it's going to create more friction. You do it slowly by loving yourself so much, by making yourself worthy of your own love and attention, so that it's overflowing and other people will notice it subconsciously. You don't have to, the fake kind of self-love and the fake kind of confidence and the fake feminine energy is saying, hey, I love myself. Hey, I'm awesome. I'm awesome because I have this great job. Hey, did you hear I'm married? I have this great husband. That's fake, because you shouldn't have to tell people. When you are loving yourself, it radiates from within, and it teaches people how to treat you and love you over time. So that's where I would start. Forget that your mother, let's sit with the moment that your mother-in-law is difficult, and let's just pour some love over this difficult mother-in-law that you have, and just let her be. Say, I accept you the way that you are, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I accept you, and I'm going to let that be. Okay, right now it's time for me to focus on my own love and self-care, and that's it. You just let that be. You cannot control her, you can't change her, you can't, she is not worth the energy at this point to spend brewing over even in your head. You just think, I'm working and loving myself. Let's see. Abisha said, tell us about your self-care routine, as in how often do you get manicure, pedicure, and body massages? How many hours do you sleep? You take afternoon naps, water, do you meditate? Okay. First of all, self-care, I want you to stop looking at it as in numbers or hours or a routine. I know that when we do videos like that, I've done a ton of videos, I have a whole playlist on self-care routine. But the fact that it's a routine, or there's a set number of hours for everything, puts us very much in masculine energy, because we're counting and we're like analyzing and we're checking out hours and all that stuff. So I want you to, the new, more growing me, and I'm learning every day, is not looking at it self-care. I do my manicure and pedicure myself when I need to. I don't have a schedule for it. I go, oh, okay, my manicure needs to be fresh. I feel like doing it right now. I'm going to do it right now. That's it. Hi. Or I say, oh, my manicure is kind of awful right now. It needs to be refreshed, but I don't feel like it. Maybe I'll do it tomorrow, and then I just let that be. Hours of sleep, I generally try to get 7 to 8 hours, because that's what makes me feel great. 7 is like my ideal number. If I sleep more than 8 hours, it actually has the opposite effect. I don't feel good. I don't nap. I'm not a napper. I drink 2 to 3 liters of water every day. I always have water with me. 2 to 3 liters. On most days, probably closer to 2, but 2.5 sometimes, so somewhere around there. I get a massage every month. Again, it's not like scheduled. When I feel like getting a massage, I text my girl, and then she gets me on the schedule, and I go. So I want you to see self-care as not some rigid routine. I want you to see it as this flowing liquid thing, fluid thing, where you're like, okay, what do I feel like doing today? And sometimes not doing anything is self-care. Sometimes saying, I don't feel like doing anything today. I'm just going to go listen to a podcast, or I'm just going to go read a book, or I'm just going to sit here in the dark. Like sometimes I literally like have moments where I'm like, I don't even want to do anything. I'm just going to sit here for 5 minutes and see how I feel. And that's self-care. It doesn't have to be this like rigid thing. Like if I tell you I get a manicure every Monday and every Friday I do this, and I've been in that point where I've done that, but again, that's very masculine energy. And some of you may need to do that. Some of you may have a schedule where if you don't schedule it in, it's never happening. Then schedule it in. But then the downfall of that is, the negative sometimes is that sometimes I don't feel like painting my nails, and I have scheduled in, and I'm like, no, right now, what would really make my day is that if I just went and made myself some coffee and just sat on the couch and just had my coffee. Like sometimes that's self-care, knowing that that's what you want to do and just loving yourself and doing that. So I want you to kind of reframe your thought process and how you look at self-care. Some days self-care is literally for me like, you know what, I really don't feel like cooking today, and I'm just gonna love myself by not cooking and just pulling something out of the freezer or having your phone pick up something on the home from work. That was my day's self-care, and I'm okay with that. So it doesn't have to be like some sort of a rigid thing, if that's making sense. Loving My Life said, when you haven't reached financial security, feel there's a pull for us women to have more masculine energy. In 20s, I definitely use more masculine energy now. In my mid to late 30s, I'm finding it easier to be in my feminine energy thoughts. Actually, that is 100% true. I've actually found this in some of my research that I've been lately doing on this topic, is that when we are, and actually the 7 chakras, they talk about that. I'm not completely familiar with that, but something I've been looking into lately, that when a woman doesn't feel secure financially because she hasn't set her up that way, or the person that she's married to isn't providing that for her, that financial security, then she can be completely drained of her feminine energy. And yes, actually Tony Robbins talks about that too in his definition of masculine energy and feminine energy, that feminine energy will put on a mask of masculine energy when she is triggered, when she's insecure, when she's feeling like she's not safe, when she's feeling like she's not secure. So yes, absolutely. So I'm not saying that the only way to get financial security is from a man. Absolutely not. You guys know I've been pretty independent for most of my life. So but if you, let's say if you make your money and you spend all of it and you're not setting yourself up to have financial security, then yes, that will completely drain you of your masculine energy, because you will always be worried. You're always going to be in that state of what's going to happen. Am I going to be okay? You're always going to be thinking of ways to earn more money. So absolutely, that will completely drain you out. Now, that's not, there are some people that are financially secure, but they always worry about money because of childhood belief systems or something, from their past. They have a negative belief system with money. So that could be draining you. So it doesn't mean necessarily just having the money, but it's that belief system of that I'm okay. I'm doing, everything that I need to do and setting myself up. Hi, Famina. Happy to have you. Powerful said, that's good to know that self-care is not rigid, because that's how I think of it, setting times when things need to be done. That's part of it. So, for example, sometimes I need to schedule in, like I have a lot of gray hair. I've talked about this before. I started getting gray hair since I was 16. So I need to touch up my roots a lot. And sometimes I have to schedule that in, because I know that if I keep saying that I'll do it when I feel like it, I'll never do it. So there's also that part of it. But other things like, sometimes my manicure and pedicure is not perfect, but I don't feel like doing it. So I'm like, you know what, who cares? Like, I'll do it when I feel like it. I've been kind of leaning back in my home cleaning routine a little bit. I like having a organized, clean house. And this is something that I pride myself in, but I felt like it was getting to a point where it was too rigid, and now I'm kind of like just doing things as I feel like them. I still like having an orderly home, not too crazy, but I'm also just letting myself be and saying, you know what, I'm a mom of 3, and I'm just going to love myself and just pour love over the fact that sometimes there's toys everywhere, and sometimes the kitchen table is a little messy. And just, that's okay. I'm doing the best that I can, and I'm going to love myself through it. That to me is self-care. I'm taking care of my emotional needs. I'm taking care of my feelings, and I'm preserving my physical energy, my emotional energy. So that to me is the definition. That's true self-care. Fake self-care can be somebody. Let me tell you how we can put a mask on. Let me drink some water first. So you guys know those people that are just perfectly put together all the time. I mean, their eyebrows are painted on, their hair is just perfectly done, they're just dressed to the T, nails are perfect, massages, facials, like everything is just perfectly done all the time. maybe that person is really well taken care of, and that is they are giving self-care inside and outside. That's one way of looking at it. Or perhaps they are so masking their emotional self, their feelings, they're neglecting themselves so much on the inside that they have to put on this huge mask of self-care on the outside, so they make themselves and everybody around them believe that they are so well taken care of. But inside, they're suppressing negative feelings. They're not living authentically. They're not showing the world who they truly are, what they're truly capable of. They're not embracing all of their imperfections. I can see that happening sometimes with people who have massive, you know, those people that are on talk shows that have like 200 and some plastic surgeries, or people that are addicted to, you know, like I heard this girl once. It was on that. Alina, can you turn the volume off, please, a little bit? It's gonna conflict with the video. Like there was this girl I saw on this show. It's a financial show. How she was broke and bankrupt, but she had to have her nails done every 3 days because she could not bear the thought of having like any like nail polish chipped, and it was just this excessive amount of self-care and pampering. But on the inside, like, she was dying because she was bankrupt. She had, her parents had kicked her out of her house. Like, it was just a horrible situation. That to me is putting on a mask of self-care. Now, if I compare myself to that woman, I would be like, wow, like, she's like loving herself so much. But is that really loving herself? Is that really true self-care? So you see how it has to be a balance of that? It can't just be one or the other. It has to be balanced. Now, there could be somebody else that's really in tune with their physical like feelings, their emotions, they're taken care of on the inside, but they don't shower, they don't dress well, they let their hair, their nails completely off track. When you look at them, you're like, wow, that person is a slob, they're dirty, they're filthy. That's not self-care either, because they're taking care of their spiritual self, but they're not taking care of their physical self, their physical bodies. So I think that there is some sort of a balance that you have to reach, and that's about that creating space and knowing that there has to be a place for both in your life. So, for example, one thing that I always get like negative comments about this stuff on my channel, where I have declared myself as a minimalist. So now if I'm ever doing a video on a closet tour or showing you guys something that I bought, people are like, oh, you know, you're always shopping and you call yourself a minimalist and stuff. Again, I do consider myself a minimalist by my own standards. I'm not here to prove my worth to you and prove myself that, hey guys, I'm a minimalist. See, look, I only have these 3 things. Like, no, I'm not going to put myself in a box. When I feel like shopping, I shop because I'm at that point in my life where I'm financially secure and able to shop when I feel like it. I'm conscious of my purchases, but that's according to my own standards. I'm not going to increase or decrease my worth by what you think of me, right? It's an internal thing. It's an inside job. So if I feel like doing a girly video just because I called myself a minimalist and you guys might leave nasty comments, doesn't mean I'm going to stop myself. That's self-care to me. That's self-love, is that I accept myself, that sometimes I feel girly, sometimes I shop, sometimes I play in my closet and try different outfits, sometimes I do my makeup, and sometimes I do none of that and I sit in meditation and I'm in tune with my spiritual self. That's my range. That is something that my husband says is the #1 thing that attracted him towards me, because that is authentic me, realizing that I'm different people sometimes. Sometimes I'm girly, sometimes I'm mom mode, sometimes I'm feeling this way or that way, and that's okay, because that's the full range of person that I am. That is the definition of who I am, and that's what I love about myself, and so that's what other people seem to be attracted to. So self-love is this full range of emotions, and it's really just accepting yourself. Really, if you guys want to learn more about self-acceptance, I really highly encourage you guys to read books by Brené Brown. She's got 4 books, I believe, at this point, maybe 5. She's amazing, and her books like really teach you how to be authentic and vulnerable and accepting all of you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, and realizing that that's what being human means, is having that full range of personality. Let's see. Tear and Paper said, how do you think a woman could be more feminine if she made more money than her husband? So the way that you could be more feminine is that you leave the money making to work. So you go to work, you make the money, and you guys both come in and you have a budget set up. You have automated ways of paying. So let's say you have money coming in, it's all pooled together. Maybe that's how you're doing it. I'm not saying that's the best way, but you do it what works for you. I'm just giving you an example. So let's say the money comes in, it gets pooled to the account. So that way it's the family money and the bills get paid. And then you let your husband, the man, be the man at home. And that means that, allowing him to love you and doing things for you, planning the dates and helping you with chores and letting him lead in the home, because you may be leading in the finances, but that doesn't mean that has to trickle off into other things where you're like, well, I make more money, so I should decide where we're going on vacation, or I should decide what restaurant we're going to. So feminine energy and making money at the workplace, you separate those two things. You have your bills and they're paid together, and you have your finances. And other than at the office, when you come home, you are his woman. You let him love you and cherish you and pamper you and give to you, and you relax and make sure that at home you're not giving to him. You are just you're letting him give, because you don't want it to feel like, for him to feel like that you're giving him financially by contributing more, and that at home you're also giving. Men like to give, they're givers, they like to be needed. So we have to sit back and lean back and just let them give to us. This is a hard one for women because we're nurturers. We think that we have to give to get love. And the funny thing is that the less I'm giving at home, the less I'm doing for my husband, the more he's doing for me, and the more he's feeling like I'm doing for him. So one thing that we were talking about is that he's, to my husband, and this is what I'm learning from in masculine and feminine energy, he says that all I want from you is for you to be you. I want you to be your authentic self. I don't want you to give me presents. I don't want you to do things for me. I just want you to be you. And that's the biggest thing that you can do for me, is that just accept my love and just be you. And I'm like, how easy is that, and how complicated we make it, right? We think we have to do so many things. Now, that's not to say that, when my husband comes home from work, I don't offer him a cup of tea. Yes, but he does that for me too. So it's kind of this natural flow. I'm not doing something for him like, let me make him this cup of tea so then he'll love me more, or I'm going to maybe get his attention. You just let it flow. So that's what I would say, is that lean back at home, because obviously you're leaning in more from work. Let's see. Usha said, hi Mina D, after watching you, I realized how important it is to concentrate on my health, well-being, self-care, and self-love. If you can learn this, Usha, you have learned the biggest lessons in life. The way that you love yourself and the way that you carry yourself, the way you take care of yourself, not just on the physical, like outside, but also on the inside, that's how you train people and teach people how to love you. That goes for your family members, your classmates, your co-workers, your future spouse, your anybody that you encounter in any romantic settings, in every relationship. That is what counts. When you show up fully accepting yourself for who you are. I am worthy because I am me, not because I did XYZ, not because I have this great job, not because I have all this money, not because I can do this or that. No, I am worthy because I am me. That is my gift to the world, is being myself, my authentic self. Not putting up a presentation, not putting up an act, not putting up a mask, not like Brené Brown says, not armoring up. It's showing and revealing ourselves for who we really are. And that is the biggest gift. And that's what people, because then when you're really showing up to how you really are, the person that is attracted to that will be attracted to that and show up. They will be magnetized by that. All this time I tried all these different things to become a better version of myself, but really I am the best version of myself because this is who I am. That's not to say I'm not growing and learning, but I'm growing and learning for my own self-love, not because I need to do that to become a better version of me, if that makes sense. Like, I am comfortable in who I am fully. And it doesn't matter if I get the self-worth from you or not. It doesn't matter if my husband accepts me, my children accept me, my family accepts me. I accept myself. So I don't need that from somebody else. But the funny thing is, the more you accept yourself, the more you get it from other people. So it's like this funny little cycle and dance that we do, but most people don't realize that. So we're looking from it from other people. We think, okay, maybe if I can just do this one more thing, then maybe people will notice me. Maybe if I can just get one more degree or make more money or get more views or get my subscribers. No, we don't need to do any of that. That's all cherries on top to, if we're already fulfilled and happy and loved, then all that stuff is, it puts a smile on my face, but it doesn't define me, right? I don't need it to survive because I am, all that I need to survive is already within me. I was created, think about it, when we come into the world, we come into the world naked, just there, just laying there, right? We come with everything that we need fully equipped in us. We don't need anything from the outside, right? We cry, our mom feeds us. Like it's just this sort of natural process. She doesn't feed us because we look a certain way, right? She doesn't nourish our body because we're going to grow up and become this or that, right? It's this natural flow. Ruta said, hi, thanks for this chapter you have made. Can you tell me how to remember all day to lean back, because in work and even at home I forget to just be. Okay, so Ritu, at work you may not need to lean back. So at work sometimes we'll need to lean in, right? Sometimes we need to lean back, but sometimes we need to lean in. Let's say we're in a meeting with our boss and we're doing a presentation and our boss is wanting us to stand up and do things and take the initiative. We're going to do that. That's leaning in. At home, the best way that I've been able to lean back is physically doing it. Okay, let me give you guys a little story that happened. A few days ago, my husband texted me and he said, hey, I may be able to get off work early. How about I take you to lunch at your favorite Thai restaurant? So I texted him back, sure, that would be great. So he called me in a few minutes, said, yes, I'm out, get dressed. We're gonna go have Thai. There's a Thai restaurant and we used to go all the time, and for some time we didn't go. So I was like really excited. Alina and I got dressed and he came in, picked us up, and then we went to the restaurant. At the restaurant, I noticed for the first 5 or 6 minutes he was very quiet, and my initial reaction was to say something, because that's just how I am. I fill in the gap. I always feel like, okay, well, if he's quiet, like maybe I should entertain him, maybe I should talk. But I was like, no. So I literally just leaned back in the chair and just relaxed my shoulder, and I said, I'm just going to enjoy this quiet time with my husband and my daughter, and I'm not going to fill in the silence with chatting. I just leaned back in the chair. A few seconds later, he reached over, grabbed my hand, and at this particular restaurant, they have paper cloths and they have crayons on the table for children to draw on the paper tablecloths. So he leaned in, he grabbed my hand, he smiled, and he grabbed a crayon, and he actually took a picture of it, and he wrote on the table, I love you. And I was like, you know what? If I hadn't given him the space to process whatever he was thinking, and I had just been like, oh yeah, so this happened today, and this happened on YouTube, and I got this comment, and this happened, he would have just been consumed with what I was saying, and I wouldn't have given him the space to lean in. So all I did was physically lean back in my chair and relax myself and just smile and just be present with him. That's all I needed to do. That was it. That's all it took. So sometimes it's just literally leaning back in your chair. Doing it physically, I feel like puts me in that momentum of like where I'm like, okay, I'm gonna get out of my head right now. Talking requires being in my head. So I'm like, I'm just gonna lean back, I'm gonna relax my shoulders, and I'm just going to be. That's it. And I'm not going to fill in that emptiness with chatter. I'm not going to try to entertain him. I'm not a circus monkey. I'm just going to allow him to be in my presence. That's it. Another thing you can do is that this has like really been helping me is I've been okay, so imagine this. This is something that I learned actually from another YouTuber. I believe she's an author of the book. I haven't read her book yet, but I want to get it. The book is called Powerful and Feminine. She also has a YouTube channel here. If I remember later, I'll put a link to her in the comments. She said something that's been really like, I was like, wow, I've never thought of it this way. So she was saying that imagine feminine energy as something that's radiating from you, but outside of you as well. So she did this exercise in a video where she was like, rub your hands together like this, and you're creating energy, right? There's energy. And if you were to move your hands out, imagine that the energy is radiating from one hand to the other. Like it's like this ball of energy. Now imagine that your feminine energy is basically radiating outside of you. So one way that I can lean back is I imagine, like, let's say I'm sitting on the couch and my husband's sitting next to me. I think of my feminine energy radiating from within me and around me, almost like an aura, and that when he's in my present, he's in my feminine energy. So he's enveloped in it. So what that helps me do is that I don't have to do anything else. I don't have to talk. I don't have to entertain him. I don't have to lead the conversation. I'm already providing what he needs from me, and that is I'm enveloping him in my feminine energy aura. And I've noticed that the more I am, the more he wants to lead. He's asking me questions like, how was your day? How do you feel about this? How would you like it if I planned this for us to do this weekend? Things that normally he wouldn't have a chance to do because I was chatting away. So that is leaning back. Yes, Express Reveal, thank you so much. I could not remember her name. Her name is Rachel Jane Grover. Yes, I absolutely love her. I need to get her book, but I told you guys I have a rule that I have to finish all the books that I have at home first, and then I will allow myself to get more books. So the ones that just arrived, I'm reading through those first, and then I'll get that. Let's see. Femina said, just like being, sometimes I have to stop myself from commenting on things because I think it's important or needs to get done. If it doesn't get done, it doesn't. I have to give myself a timeout. Yes, that's a good one, Femina. That made me think of something else. One thing that I found was that when my children had things that they needed my husband to do for them, they would tell me and they would want me to tell my husband. And so it felt like to me that I was nagging him because I'd be like, oh, Armand needs you to do that for him, or Ayan wants you to do that. And now I'm like, you guys are big boys. Why do you guys need a middleman? I started doing it as a joke. Like I sat them down and I said, when you guys need, your air filled in your bikes or whatever you need daddy to do, I need you guys to go to, I think you guys are old enough to go to daddy and say it yourself. Why do you need a middleman? And if they ever forget and they say, hey, can you tell daddy to do this? I'm like, I'm going to have to charge for my services. You know what my rates are. And then that reminds them, because, they think it's funny. So it reminds them that it's not my job, because I feel like that's something that should be between daddy and son. That's why am I having to manage that, right? So that's also leaning back and saying that you need me to do something, you come to me. When you need daddy to do something, you go to daddy. You don't use me as the middleman. I don't know, Famina, what it was about your comment, but that reminded me of that. And that may be something, I don't know if other moms do that, but teach your children to have to do that themselves, because I want, that should be a transaction between them. I don't want to be a part of that, because that makes me feel like I'm nagging them. Okay, enjoying life's journey said, Mina, what's your take on this? I'm currently laid up dealing with health issues with my kidney, and as I do what I need to take care of myself, I'm getting a lot of negative attitude from my husband. Okay, so I would actually need more details of that, but here's one way of looking at it. I used to think that I got a lot of negative attitude from my husband when I was going through my whole RA stuff, and my fatigue period and stuff. And even though now that I evaluate the situation, it turns out that I find that really when I reevaluate the situation, he wasn't really doing anything negative. He wasn't showing me an attitude. It was just because I was feeling really guilty about the fact that I was having to spend so much time and energy, spending so much time and energy on taking care of myself, that I felt guilty. Even though now, like what I've learned and everything I've gone through, I feel like me taking care of myself was actually the biggest form of love for my family, because I want to be around for them. I want to be healthy. I want to be vibrant. And if I didn't take that little time out and do that for myself, I wouldn't be the healthy person that I am now, the vibrant person that I am now. And my family benefits most from me being healthy. So one thing maybe is that when he is being patient, or when he's not doing anything, when he's just being, go and give him a hug and give him a kiss and say something like, thank you so much for being patient with me today, as I'm giving myself the self-care and love. And that's it. And you lean back and you do your thing, but appreciate him when he's not doing any of the negative things. You know how they say what you appreciate appreciates in value? And then the other saying is energy flows where attention goes. So give the attention to the positive, to also for yourself and for him. And I think the first thing you can do is, even before you do that, is to pour love on the situation. Say, you know what, I'm having some issues because I haven't been loving myself the way I needed to. And now I'm taking this little time to love myself. And yes, my situation is not ideal, but I'm doing the best that I can to make it better, and pour love on that. And pour love on his attitude, and pour love on your own self and the situation, and then move from there, because now you're moving from a clean slate. You're not carrying your own judgments about the situation. You're not carrying your own guilt about the situation. And I know how that feels when you're sick and you carry so much guilt, because you're like taking this time and energy to feel better, but then you're also draining yourself mentally by feeling guilty. So I hope that answers your question, is to start by pouring love on the situation and saying, how am I contributing? Am I feeling so guilty that all I'm seeing is his negative attitude? Because your guilt will make you see all the negative, because you're kind of expecting that from him, right? And I'm not saying that he's not doing that, but we focus on what we can control first, right? Alex said, part of my self-care is learning to handle the people outside of my immediate family that want to set my schedules. Yes, that is a major self-care. That is learning to say no. That's a hard one for women. That I have ease in doing that with other people, but I have difficulty with doing that with certain family members. And so I'm working on that and retraining them, and it's actually been going great. The funny thing is that when I accepted that it was okay for me to do this, and I was going to love myself to do it, love myself through it, and allow myself to do this, they accepted it. But when I was working from a place of guilt and like, well, maybe I should just make myself available whenever they were available, or maybe I should just be able to do that, it was coming from a very different place than where it's coming from now. Enjoying life's journey said, yes, thank you. Feeling guilty for sure. Not doing all I normally do is hard. That it always starts with our own guilt, and then it feeds. That's what you're giving off, and that's what you're noticing in your husband. I promise you, once you can pour that love on your own guilt, things will start to shift. That's how it worked for me. I was thinking, one of the biggest things that you can do is that give people the generosity of intention, right? So for example, if I ever have a thought where I think my husband is doing something negative, I think about it, I'm like, is he a bad person? No, of course not. He's a loving person. He's a smart man. He's a giving, loving, generous person. So, okay, if he's a loving, giving, generous, amazing, loving person, why do I think he's doing something bad? So I have to give him the bad, right? So I'm like, I have to give him the generosity of that intention, that he has good intentions. Maybe I have done something to feel that way. Maybe I'm not giving to myself right now. So right now you're not giving yourself self-love by letting go of the guilt. So of course what you're giving, the energy and the vibes you're receiving from other people are similar to what you're doing to yourself. So what you can do first is love yourself and accept that. Let's see. I think I missed some comments below. Otherwise, I will let you guys go. But I'm going to continue making videos on this topic. I hope that you guys got some food for thought. Your homework, I guess, sort of homework assignment for this week could be really sitting down and evaluating. Here, let's start there. If you guys really wanted to start with the easiest, simplest way, is that throughout the day, ask yourself, how am I feeling right now? And then when you have a feeling, and let's say you're saying, I'm feeling pretty happy, ask yourself why, and see what those emotions are. Because I ask myself why I'm feeling happy to learn what I can do in the future to make myself feel happy when I'm not feeling happy. But if the answer is I'm feeling sad, or I'm feeling disappointed, or I'm feeling guilty, then just have that imaginary jug of love and pour some love on it, and just accept it and let it go. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to judge it. It is what it is, and just accept it and move towards that. And just by thinking that self-love doesn't have to be this elaborate, extravagant thing. It could be, but it doesn't have to be. And just leading with my self-love, right? Self-care is literally just self-love. And even if it just means that today I'm just going to tell myself that I love myself with all my faults and everything that all the balls that I drop, all the negative things that I say, because I am still worthy of being loved, because I am me. And that's where self-care needs to start sometimes. So awesome, guys. I loved hanging out with you guys. Thank you so much. I really enjoyed it too. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.